first I'm just going to run through the people that we hired. We'll run through some open house stuff and then just some miscellaneous notes.
Whoa!
But this is nice. I don't
So in addition to some new ambassadors, we have some new coordinators starting next year. We have our returners, Kate and Samantha, and then Kayomi, Ben, Darhan, and Gabrielle. So as you know, they'll be helping with training in the fall, just general resource to everybody, helping to keep the ship nice and polished. Let's just leave this open house stuff. Okay, I'm gonna ask this every time. Has anybody still not worked in open house somehow?
This is the
Does anybody still not work? Does anybody not work to spring open house? Okay, so we can be pretty quick with this. We're gonna do it again Saturday morning anyway. So if you worked the open house last time, you are pretty much doing the same thing with just some minor changes. Okay, so Alright, cleanup crew starting at 6:30. Nick is going to reach out to you with just some general info on that. Everybody else arrive at 7:15 for breakfast, bagels as per usual. 7:45, we head over to the AC. So parking people, there's like some mini changes we're doing with this. So now we have 5 parking people. We have some safety vests, so just people look a little bit more official in their role. People take them a little more seriously. We got extra walkie-talkies just to ensure communication between everybody. So as always, we'll have somebody in the Maywood lot directing people to the garage. Somebody in front of the student entrance, again, just pointing people onto the garage. I think we have a parking arrow sign we're going to get out this time too, just so the traffic doesn't stop. Yep.
Will the parents of people who usually drop off their kids for swimming somehow know they won't be able to park there? Great.
I don't know what the swimming department is doing. And then we'll have somebody at the bottom of the garage pointing people upward. Ashley, we have you at the top sort of coordinating all of these parking efforts. So you'll be putting people into individual spots at the top, filling it up as we go. We're going to be directing large SUV-sized vehicles to go straight to the Maywood lot. So Maywood, Brendan again. Brendan's not here, but Brendan will be, hi Brendan. He'll be allowing big cars into the Maywood spot because they don't fit in the garage. Cole, will be hanging out in the AC until he hears on the walkie-talkie that Maywood is full. He'll run over to ASIC, and then everybody will start directing people to ASIC, and hopefully that'll make the parking a little bit more smooth. Carly, again, is the friendly table approacher. Charlotte, we have you as the mean old announcer to get. Alexis, I think we threw you on as Atwood manager last time, but you'll just be doing that on the record this time. So basically just making sure your seats are full, directing people to Jefferson 320 once Atwood is filled up. Erin, Heather handing out bags and bottles, Hannah outside the UP stop, and Natalie outside of the Neller side of the garage, pointing people toward the AC. Welcome sesh, Maxine and Robbie, that hasn't changed. The welcome session has changed, but that's probably not consequential to anybody who doesn't watch it. So we have a use, so the only difference with the session guides this time, we have the lead session with the sign, and they'll be sending people over to the various stops and waves. We added a UC sign for sessions that are Grace or Lurie, and another UC person to bring people over to there. First session, colleges that change lives, Abby, Ashley, and Katie. We made some minor adjustments to the sessions post Sean sending out a thing. So if you're not familiar with the session that you're in, we'll be in contact with you. I think the major differences are clubs, organizations, and teams. So that would be Mateo, Maria, and Hannah. I think you did it again. You did it before. Yeah. So that's basically just the panel addressing those things, and you all have sort of various different involvement with clubs, organizations, and teams. Kate will be doing the overview session, which I know she's super psyched for.
Yeah.
So transitions, we've moved to Jefferson 320, so we should have plenty of room there at this time. Also to know with clubs, orgs, and teams is those are going triple sessions back to back, because there's a huge demand for those. So we should be able to accommodate people a little bit better. If you're not doing a session, you're basically doing campus tours. How it sort of seemed like it worked out last time was this part where we have plenty of people giving tours. We have a very low need for tours, and then as soon as everybody goes to lunch, that's when everybody wants a tour. So I tried to get a few more people on lunch than the other way around. So with lunches, it looks like we could potentially have as big of an open house as we did last time. I haven't checked the numbers in the last week or so, but it was up at around 800 total guests so far. So for lunch, really just kind of run in. If there's a ton of people looking for seats and it looks like it's gonna fill up, just sort of eat and get out of there. As I had Don tell me while I was there that day, if you could politely please leave.
Are you going to try to have more tables in there?
Yeah, we are getting more tables. We're getting more chairs across the board everywhere. So in Sackler, in the CAF, just trying to accommodate for as many people as we can. Moving to the last one, we start to do room house tours, residence hall tours rather. We have Maxine as the tour guide wrangler. Robbie will be doing it in the 2 sessions before that. Clark Confidential, I think, is the same. Natalie, Cole, and Carly, does that sound right?
I have never done this.
You haven't done that one? Okay, so we'll touch base on that. That one's really easy. It's just a panel without a person there, so they just ask you about partying and stuff. As usual, we just have some people in sort of the key spots around campus at this point, and that's really just to help people get to where they need to be. So make sure you have a program and you know where to point. Make sure you can read the program, because that can be sort of tricky unless you're not familiar with it ahead of time. Kate will help us out with coordinating the Neller. So we had families sort of awkwardly trickling in while professors were trying to set up for their academic fair thing. So you'll basically be at the door and then open it up when it's time. Just letting families know that it's going to be open at the time. For the most part, people are sitting in on these the same as they did last time. Charlotte and Hannah, I have you both sort of assisting with the visual and performing arts tour. Charlotte, I think you worked the open house before.
I've done them in every other open house.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So just there, in case the music person doesn't show up again or whatever.
Are the professors basically the same for all those?
Probably not, to be honest. I think a bunch of them end up changing.
Okay.
So some of you have been approached by professors that they want you in their session. If this doesn't reflect that, and we need to switch it, that's a bigger priority. A couple of you might see slight changes here. We have a couple programs that aren't represented by anybody who's available right now, so we'll just have to figure that out. I think it's like 2 of them. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, just plan ahead. Make sure that this schedule is reflected somehow in your notes. Either write it down in a timeline, put it in your calendar, however works for you to make sure you know where you're supposed to be. I'll be in the AC the whole time. Again, just kind of like holding down the fort there. Do people have any questions? Yeah, with the academic sessions, just help the professor do whatever they need to do. If they ask you to like help answer questions, do that. Some of them might just have you set up the presentation and then chill. Help them get over to the academic fair, and then again, they might ask you to stay and help represent, or they might ask you to leave. And if they ask you to leave and you're not on the cleanup crew, then you're free to go.
What time does the academic fair start? Is it 2:15 or is it 2:00?
It starts at 2:40. It's super short.
I had a quick note, like in Sackler, it gets really full really quick, those rooms, and all these parents like tried to move into this one room that was already full, and it just took me or someone else saying like, it's already full, like go find somewhere else, because then it stops like those long lines of people that have no idea what's going on. So it was ever in Sackler or in the UC or someone just to like be like, it's full, sorry. It really helped.
Okay, I'm gonna just throw you in Sackler as well over here.
I'm not going to talk.
Well, I'll do it. Any other notes from last time? Things that people saw that could be improved upon? All right, you've all done this before. We're going to go over it again Saturday, so not that worried about getting into that now.
Or sandwiches for lunch again?
Probably.
It's the same too.
Clarky Day, we'll do this real quick. It's slightly different time-wise as it was in the last session. We need one more person in for night check-in, so if somebody wants to do that, just replace Tim. Yeah, okay. I'll update that. So basically, we just shifted everything back a little bit to make the lunch a little bit shorter because it was awkwardly long last time. So people in green here, plus Mackenzie, just mingling in the basket, talking with families. It gets pretty crazy in there with the check-in. So like somebody will end up holding the name tags and a Sharpie. Somebody will end up helping somebody with luggage tags. Mackenzie, you're there to just sort of like identify, where are you? Identify like the needs of staffing among students, and then also start sending families over with students in waves to Tilton. So that can start. Lunch is technically at 1, so like if it gets really full around 12:30, we can just start sending people over. People in purple will be waiting in Tilton to mingle with families as they come in. So yeah, just and if you're a person in green who started in the basket, you come over before lunch, just stick around and mingle. Around 1:50, they're gonna start announcing that it's time to go to session. So Sean will get up on stage and be like, okay, everybody doing the Peapod Shenanigans session, come up here with Natalie, she's gonna bring you over. Natalie brings them over to the session, sticks around to help the club with anything they may need. Natalie might want to participate in the Peapod thing, but somebody else might not want to actually participate in the program.
How many people are you expecting to be in each session? Because it looks like there are fewer offerings.
Yes, there are fewer offerings, so there probably will be bigger
Okay.
sessions. So I'm thinking closer to the 15 mark, whereas I think it was capped at 9 maybe. Ashley?
Yeah, for the class, I think can we put a note for these classes that we're going to move to green, just in case somebody looks for us. We're going to put in the first spot and then I'm going to move to green option. So
Okay.
just in case.
Yeah, for sure. Most people do just the same session back to back, but they change a little bit. So Kate, you bring people over to Model UN. That session lasts the full time, but you don't have to stay the full time. At 3:30, we're just gonna have you wait in Red Square and instruct anybody who's. Oh, so let me start with everybody else. If you have circle here, that just means you're like taking all the people in your session and getting them to where they need to be. So just kind of circle around campus. If your person is going to play Quidditch, bring them to Red Square. Don't bring them to Dolan, because that doesn't work with time. So Kate will just wait until their group is all together. We can do a list of who's in it, and then you can walk them to Dolan. Night check-in. We did. I don't know if anybody. I don't think anybody's doing night check-in again, but we got some different food. So there's a bunch of food. We got a bunch of games. So you can play some music on the speakers in the lobby. Yep.
What space do I have for the ballroom lesson?
Atwood.
Okay.
Does that work?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, Mateo, you switch. So I have you in ballroom and then joining Casa. Yeah. I figured your salsa skills might come in handy. Any questions on class?
The visits are the same, right?
The what?
The visits for Friday, they're coming families.
So Friday we don't have visits, but there's like maybe 3 families in the morning session.
Okay. So I should not request for it because I have lunch. And 18 and
So,
I just didn't know how this works, so I just hang out.
Can you
No, I
fire
don't
one
want to
over
do it
there?
myself. I just have the confidence to ask.
if it conflicts with this, then yeah, just toss it up, even though it probably won't take like
Okay,
a
expect
meeting,
nothing.
you know. So just moving into some miscellaneous notes. These are just things we picked up on either Sean or I, coordinators or CBCs. Just thinking toward the end of the semester, we're all really comfortable with each other at this point. It can be really easy just to sort of like treat things as an afterthought, so just to sort of like reaffirm some stuff. So office tasks, mailings, projects, etc. We've obviously had a ton more of these right now than we have throughout the year. So just being on top of things. Molly and Amelia take all the flack if things don't get done in time, so they don't know what's going on, then they get in trouble for something that's out of their control, sort of. So just when you finish a project, just make sure you update the CVC who gave you the project on what the status is, if you finished it, if it still needs a lot more time. And anything you finish putting together mailing-wise in the basement at the end of your shift, whether the whole project is done or not, you can go into the mailroom and just get it sent out. When somebody asks you to do something, even if it's not Sean or I, if the CDC is asking you to do a project while you're on your shift, just do so with a good attitude. It can be really easy just to like roll your eyes and not think about it, but it sort of makes an impact on people's day-to-day. So along with that, don't leave homework. I know we said this a million times, but don't leave homework that needs to be finished during a shift, because sometimes you'll be asked to do things you weren't expected to do on phones. So just that end of semester kind of can like lose a little bit of energy, so we just have to make sure we're being mindful of just the general job responsibilities. Making sure that tours, presentations, and panels are timely. If you're co-presenting, keep an eye on the time, and if you need to cut out some of the things that you usually say to make sure you're on track. If you're presenting with Matt Johnston, it might take half the time that it would be if you're presenting with Don. So just cutting down on your materials a little bit, even if it's something that you're usually used to saying. Same with tours, just make sure the tours come in on time. Some Clark stats, we've just been hearing some sort of wrong information that's been going around. Cole has some examples of the last stuff that he wanted to share.
Yeah, so I did some research on the stickleback fish and like why we actually study it here, and I told like my professor like this is what I know, and he goes, no, that's totally wrong. I actually don't even mention any of the research that goes on in Lazarus because I get super confused by it, but this is what I learned about the stickleback if you want to actually talk about it the correct way. So it doesn't actually evolve faster than any other species, but the reason we study it is because during the last ice age, all the stickleback fish, which are oceanic fish, got pulled into Alaska, into these variety of lakes, and they sort of got trapped in these different lakes. And over the past 20,000 years, they've evolved, and we've been able to sort of use each lake as a mini laboratory, because each lake has different issues, or like some of them have pipe and they've been able to track what the stickleback fish have, how they've changed, or different temperatures and things like that. So that's like a big, that's like why we study the stickleback. That's why they go to Alaska and actually look at all the different lakes, what's in them, the different like pHs and things like that, and how they're changing. So if we're gonna talk about the stickleback, let's talk about it correctly.
So I would just recommend for everyone, just like check through our stats. Make sure the stats you're looking at are actually for this year and not from the past year. We're working on updating everything so it's fresh for the fall.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I heard like numerous numbers, so I want to know the right one. How many clubs does Clark have?
We say approximately 130.
Over 120, safe answer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Changes from
Because
year
I
to
heard
year.
someone, I don't know, I could have just like imagined it, like over 100, but like that's a lot. And I just is that and I'm like, I think that's wrong, but I didn't know.
Ashley?
One stat that I've heard said wrong multiple times. We're currently at 15% international and there's only 3% POCs. So, yeah. Like,
Wait.
according to Haley Haywood, the POC statistic
Okay.
is 3%.
Huh?
So, but like she's like,
Well,
that's a
then-
very narrow definition of POC. Just putting it out there. So, just, if you're going to use that statistic, I'd say it's like
domestic.
new.
I
Yeah,
thought
so
that was like.
I think her technically, the one she's giving out is I think of black students. I don't think that's actually POC in general. So just don't use the wrong statistics. Yeah, because that one is not available online.
Can you say them again?
So 15% international and 3% black. Although people usually just say 3% POC, which is not correct. So it's 3% black, 15% international. Yeah, and I think the black one's not on the slide, but it's been asked before. I've heard it before.
Also, just like a small thing in finding these updated statistics, the new folders that we have is that new like inside our template has all the updated statistics, and we also keep one here at the front desk to just like run through really quick and have so much notes.
Charlotte?
This is also super nitpicky, but I hear a lot of people say that we have guaranteed programming, and that's just like not a thing. So there's no university mandated like programming every day, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's usually what happens, but to say that it's guaranteed is just not correct.
Also, another thing that I have been saying definitely is when talking about study abroad, make sure when you're referring to study abroad, it's for fees transferring. It's only for domestic students. It's not the same for international students. Most of the time, aid and scholarships do not transfer for international students.
So I think the last thing, just mingling, is super important. We say this probably every other meeting, but it's sort of on you as the other person in the A team to be checking in the front to make sure that there aren't any quiet families just hanging out by themselves. The CBC, if they see something, they will come say something, but it's not necessarily on them to make sure that people are mingling when they're supposed to. Sort of relating to that, we hold the coordinators like a pretty high standard for doing their job. So like if they say like, oh, maybe we should probably be mingling, it's usually a good idea to listen to them. Co-presenting, so this applies to the leads. I don't know if this is, I think this goes against what most of the leads think in terms of whose turn it is to co-present versus lead the panel. I know people like to like trade when they can, but ultimately it is the counselor's decision who co-presents with them. So you have some co-presenters, like I know Sean doesn't care, he just asks who wants to do it. But then somebody else might have a specific person that they want to do that with. And that's nothing like personal against all the leads. It's just sometimes counselors, the way that they present fits better with a different lead person, so just be mindful of that.